After a sumptuous lunch break. Um, we'd also like to announce that Raymond's will be welcoming all of you with a gift and that they're about to give away after the session. And we also hope you've taken time to be part of the Raymond made-to-measure experience that's happening in the pre-function area. We'd also like to announce that the Twitter handle for the conference is @ISA_VUCA, and you can tweet using the hashtag #ISAVUCA. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now about to begin with our fourth session with Mr. Martin Peters, who's the CEO and Managing Director of Vodafone India, sharing his perspectives on the topic, "Not every consumer has sealed her pocket, finding new pockets of growth." According to Mr. Peters, the future customer is already with us. Just the big picture and the details are needed to decode the customer. Ladies and gentlemen, the moderator for this session is Mr. Anurag Batra, media entrepreneur and chairman and editor-in-chief of Exchange for Media Group. With a warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Martin Peters and our moderator for the session, Mr. Anurag Batra, to introduce him to the August gathering.
Good afternoon. It's an after-lunch session, and I'm sure you know why we put Martin Peters. This week in Mumbai has been Mr. Peters week. We had Russell Peters in Mumbai this week. We said to match his energy and to entertain and educate and to lift everyone, we need an equally charming Mr. Peters. So we have the very charming Mr. Martin Peters for you. So I'm sure he'll be more entertaining than Russell Peters, and he'll be more enlightening than any speaker that you've heard. Let me do the formal introduction and then my own version of his introduction. Martin Peters is the Managing Director and CEO of Vodafone India. Martin Peters was appointed MD and CEO of Vodafone India in February 2009. In 2012, he was appointed Vice Chairman of the Cellular Operators Association of India, which is an industry body for the GSM telecom operators in India. He's also the Chairman of the Board of Directors of Indus Towers. Martin earned his LLM degree at Groningen University in the Netherlands in 1977. Between 1977 and 89, he occupied various management positions at the Royal Smile Food PLC, a family-owned food company. In 1989, he joined KPN, the Dutch incumbent operator of the postal and telecom services, and went on to lead international operations of its affiliated companies and look after emerging markets in Asia and Eastern Europe. In 2000, he became a member of the board of directors at KPN. From 2003 to 2007, Martin was CEO of Caltel International, a Pan-African mobile telecom operator. And in 2008, he became a non-executive board member of Millicom SA in Luxembourg. I must also say that Martin Peters is like an oyster, which does not open for days or for months. But when it does, you have to be there and be ready to catch the pearl. Martin does not speak too often at public fora, so we are really fortunate as ISA to have him here. I'm quite looking forward to catch the pearls of wisdom from him, as I guess you all are. And I'm sure the topic he speaks on this afternoon, not every consumer has sealed her wallet, finding new pockets of growth, will bring in a lot of cheer in this room full of CEOs and CMOs who are planning their businesses for the festive season and the year ahead in 2014. You know, I am for one an eternal optimist, and that perhaps explains why I'm acquired the business world recently when everyone told me that the days of magazines are over, because I know there are thousands of advertisers who know the power of magazines and for whom nothing works better than magazine, whether it be a fast company or a Wired or a business world. And with this introduction, I'd also like to tell you a couple of days back in Vodafone India, and Mr. Martin Peters made a commitment to India of investing $2 billion to the business in India. So in a VUCA world, there cannot be a better example of an entrepreneur, and I mean that CEOs of large companies have to be entrepreneurs, otherwise they cannot create the growth that entrepreneurs who own the companies want them to create. So with this round of introduction, we have the perfect person for today afternoon. I'm sure you'll be fast awake and clapping after this session. With all this, over to you, Martin.
You know, I was this weekend in Delhi for the Grand Prix, which was a very nice event again. and they give you earplugs, which is absolutely necessary, but I think if I hear your introduction, I better had put my earplugs in again, because it makes me ashamed a bit. It sounds also, you know, so good that expectations must be very high. So let me reset your expectations immediately. This is a lawyer, a trained lawyer, talking about marketing, you know, so what can you expect? You expect virtually nothing, maybe then you can take away a bit of it. And the other thing is, I indeed don't want to speak too often for audiences, because, you know, in the end, what do you tell as a lawyer to audiences? There's not so much to tell. So when I got this invitation and I decided that that's actually a good idea to go there, then you have, of course, since it's for many of you first impression of me, you know, you think, how am I going to dress up? Now, all these, it's saying something as advertising, isn't it? This is something about advertising. So typically, all these guys that I meet in advertising, they walk on flip-flops, they have hair until here, and, you know, so that's not my style. But I know there's also a board that invited me here today, and probably all these board guys, and I was completely true, they wear ties. I see them sitting here in the front, they all wear ties. So what do you do as a speaker? I decided to put on my collar, open it, and put the tie over the open collar. Do you think I got it right? Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Vodafone is with, you know, more than 155 million customers, quite a big enterprise in India. And by the way, we also have what we call an enterprise business. So we're not only in the consumer business, but also in the B2B. We have nationwide coverage as an operator. And what people typically don't know is that more than half of our customers are actually in pure rural areas. Vodafone started out, as most operators, in more metro urban areas, but the reality is that life has moved on, and more than half of our customers are now in rural areas. Company is around 37,000 crores revenue, and with that we are the second biggest MNC in India. Telecoms is a funny business because it is typically very strongly related to GDP and GDP growth. You see in nearly every country that if the GDP grows, then telecoms grows with it. It is a kind of spending power that people have. If it increases, a kind of fair share ends up in the operator's pockets. And we all know that now in the current situation, let me see if this works. Yes, it works. In the current situation, that there is a lot of bad news about the economy, isn't it? If you read newspapers like I do every day, that's of course in the morning you want to know what's going on. And you might have seen that in telecoms we are very often actually front page news. There's always something new in regulation, or there is something new with the tax man, or actually sometimes there's a bit of good news like the foreign direct investment that Vodafone is going to make into India. But so it's important to read these newspapers. But let me just give a few headlines that I picked up in the last few weeks. Consumer spending falling, high inflation, confidence in government waning, consumers down trading, discretionary expenditure reducing, rupee falling vis-a-vis the dollar, high value purchases being postponed, business regulations getting tougher. That isn't very positive, is it? So what we read from these headlines is that we live in tough times, both as consumers and as businesses. Volatility in currency is leading to volatility in input pricing, and uncertainty in government regulations translates into new challenges for business every day. At least in telecoms, I can say that that is generally true. And ambiguity for the future is making consumers careful in spending. But as business professionals, we might not like these developments, but we don't have much choice, is it? It's like the weather. You can like the weather or not, but you can't really stop it. So we have no alternative than to embrace it. We need to embrace the change that is happening. So if we talk about VUCA, the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, that is something that I think we should make our friend as business people and as marketeers, and not see it as an alien, unfriendly foe. Friends are people who we enjoy spending time with, isn't it? And if you start to think differently and more positively about the change, then I'm sure that we will be able to turn that into a positive thing also. There are other advantages of befriending the VUCA. Because being with friends, we will not get disillusioned, we will not get disappointed, and we will not get disheartened when we see it. It sounds slightly preposterous, but I can assure you from experience that if you do that and you become more positive about what really the challenge is and try to embrace it, that can work out very, very well. Finding growth or delivering new ways of growing the business is, I think, in India, the only constant in the business world. Growth is an ingrained part of our business culture. All business marketing initiatives need to justify themselves in terms of growth potential. And I believe that we must try to formulate rules or decipher patterns on how to grow, which are obvious, basic, and simple. In hindsight, everybody can see what a good strategy did for you and then try to copy it or copy it. But in between, it gives you an immense advantage till the time that your competitors have deciphered it. In the next 20 minutes or so, I will share with you some simple rules that have developed us growing the business in India and also allowed us to enjoy an advantage over most competitors. The structure that I will follow is that I will share with you a rule followed by data or a video to support it or bring it to life. So the first rule, the key to building a sustainable business is understanding of our customers. Consumers respond to their desire to satiate their needs. Human needs, since time immemorial, have basically remained the same. And there is no better framework than the one given by Maslow, which we all, I think, study when we do the marketing studies. Our products and services need to fulfill one or more of these needs to win consumer confidence. The needs could range from basic physiological services, food, water, security, health and safety of your family, to more complex needs like loving and belonging, esteem needs, social and personal, to self-actualization, creativity and problem solving. Customer behavior is embedded in the past and the present. The future consumer evolves from the present one. And it is really important to see what is embedded in the present. Search for the future starts from the solid ground of the actual. In other words, we find the seeds of the future on the ground and not in the limitless of the sky. To understand the future needs of the customer, we need to look at trends and at the same time study the detail of where her or his behavior is. I will give you an example of what I mean when I say this. Assume that we go in a helicopter for a ride over a forest. What is visible to us is an impenetrable forest full of trees. The denseness makes the forest look like a lush green carpet. But if we land the chopper and we go on a hike in the same forest, it is a completely different sight from the one that we had seen from the above. It's full of plants and trees and all kinds, accompanied by chirping and twittering of different animals. Two views of the same thing. This example shows the distinction between the big picture and the details. And to understand our customer, we need to maintain a balance between that big picture, the trends, where the world is moving to, and the details, where the consumer himself does want to go to tomorrow. Let me show a video to you which illustrates that today's consumers are possibly seeking things which looked futuristic some years back, but are a reality today. This is a video from Vodafone New Zealand. It's probably not completely fit for Indian television, but I thought this is a quite mature audience, so enjoy it.
Isn't the world a great place? I mean, just think of all the things we can do now. You can change the colour of your hair, your skin, and even your eyes. You can have a virtual pet, an online friend, a second life. You can become a millionaire by selling pixels for $1 each. You can go back to school after you've retired. Men can stay at home and look after the kids, while women go to work and bring home the bacon. If you don't have boobs, you can just go buy a pair. You can dial a hubby. You can get donuts in 564 different flavors. And entertain the whole world from your living room. Now we can do all these great things. So let's make the most of it. Vodafone.
So what it shows is that there are endless new opportunities coming up, and consumers, if they are positioned right, are ready for it. And we believe that whenever there are people who are seeking something, somebody can make money out of the transaction. And the current internet world has shown us the same. Important thing is to have a product, service, and brand that consumers are connecting to. The way to the consumer's wallet is designing products and services that ensure that the consumer feels like bending to pick it up. You always need to get through this initial effort, the effort of bending to pick it up. We need to understand that what the consumer needs and then design products and services where he or she has no other option and the desire to buy. Telecoms has shown this several times by creating new products which were completely new and created its own demand. And a good, I think, example in India is the caller tunes. Caller tunes, ringtones, things that actually nobody needs but everybody likes and people are willing to pay for it. So let's go to the second rule. I've seen in life that things that you expect to happen most times more slowly than expected. Da Vinci designed the first models of airplanes during the Renaissance, but it was only in 1903 that the Wright brothers were able to fly one. Very similar is the case with our consumers. The acceptance of new products and technology is far slower than we expect. Human behavior is evolutionary in nature and not revolutionary. Consumers take time to accept new products and services because it means a change in their habits, which always is a gradual process, dependent on how fast they embrace it and get used to it. A good example of a company that has driven development very fast is Apple. It has been able to create an unparalleled love for its products based on, I think, very, very easy to use elements of the devices and, of course, perfect design. So let's watch this video and see how consumers give their opinion on a new Apple product in Los Angeles.
Apple this morning unveiled not one, but two new iPhones, which this is about as close as America gets to having a royal baby, Apple unveiling new iPhones. They have a new high-end iPhone called the iPhone 5S. The S stands for shut up and give us your money. It has a better camera, a longer battery life, and a fingerprint scanner, because the NSA didn't have enough of our personal information. Now they will have our fingerprints too. And the coolest new feature, I think, is an app that allows you to forget that 6 months ago you spent $500 on a phone that is now obsolete. The 5S comes in silver, gold, and what they're calling space gray. So there's no more black iPhone, although the gray one has a black face, which isn't very politically correct, but it's... Apple also introduced the iPhone 5C, which is a less expensive plastic model. It comes in lime green, white, yellow, red, and bright blue. So if you would, just pass your old iPhones to the front. We'll collect them and throw them in a wood chipper or something. And while technophiles will probably be up all night analyzing every detail of the new phones, I believe that most people will not be able to tell the difference between the new models and the old models. And to prove it, we went out onto Hollywood Boulevard today. We handed people, not even an iPhone, an iPad mini. We told them it was the new iPhone and asked them what they thought, and this is what they thought.
Have you heard the new iPhone came out today?
I did not know that.
We have it here. I just wanted to show it to you and ask you how you think it compares to the old iPhone.
You know what? It looks really cool. I don't even know how to work it, but it seems intense and fun.
Graphics probably look a little better, a little clearer screen.
Really slim, light,
Lighter than the old one?
a lot lighter than the old one.
It looks like it's a lot smaller, and it is really cool.
Yeah, I think it looks much sleeker, it's much lighter, smaller, and I think it looks easier to handle.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah, okay.
How does it
It's
sound?
great. Yeah, it's great. It's
Yeah.
very fantastic. Thank you.
It is cool. It's different. It is totally different. I've never seen one like this before.
They have this new black color in support of Nelson Mandela.
Are you serious? That would definitely not make me buy it.
No.
No. If this is true that you guys are making this black for Nelson Mandela, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. That's a disgrace. Let's get beyond the color. Do better. Do better.
There's also click it and lick it. If you click the bottom circle, you can lick it and also taste the flavor.
So I just lick it.
Yeah, it comes in chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry.
I can't really taste. Oh, I can taste it.
What do you think?
Whoa, that's so weird. It's cool. I like it.
Do you think fat kids are going to start eating iPhones?
No.
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 It's a lot better. It's a lot faster. It looks better. I like the size because, you know, you can.
How do you say it's faster?
It's faster when it comes down to downloading or watching video streaming, anything on the internet, trying to play games, or pretty much anything. Is a lot faster than the older model. The new iPhone is great. I would recommend for everybody to go get it. I love Apple products. Go get it.
Well, that was, I think, extremely funny. You know, we saw the iPad mini coming out a couple of years back, but still consumers actually don't see the difference between an iPhone and an iPad. But they said all the right things, isn't it? It's smaller, it's lighter, it works much better, it even tastes better. This is an example from our own industry. In 2011, we launched the 3G services in India, the high-speed data services, with a lot of fanfare, and it was thought that they will cause explosive data growth in the country. All telecom players spent a huge amount of money creating infrastructure and announcing its launch. But for the consumers to use 3G, they first needed to upgrade to a device which allows them to get the full benefit of the broadband service. The upgradation has been slow, and it's only now when we see handset prices being lowered that we see penetration of 3G handsets growing rapidly. The graph shows you the slow growth of 3G enabled phones on our network and the resulting data volumes. So what we see here is that the marketeers are at times more impatient than their consumers. We get bored of seeing our own advertising before the consumer does, and as a result, at times we change it and move to a new edit, which is actually very often a waste of energy. We often make changes to our products to make them more attractive, even though there is no immediate consumer need. Let's move to rule 3. Volatile, uncertain times, VUCA times, drive change, and change throws up opportunities. Businesses that accept change know that with change, opportunities do arise. Times of change are times of opportunity. Problem solvers necessarily are dealing with yesterday, while if you deal with opportunities, you deal with the future. Organizations that need to grow and that need to come through difficult times need actually more business developers than problem solvers. The problem solvers will advise you to invest more in an already obsolete technology or process, which actually can stop you from making investments into newer technologies and future processes. A great example is the photography category. It has seen the erosion of all the big giants who did not in time embrace the digital photography, and even the brands who were first into the digital photography are now facing problems as they could not see the coming of age of mobile phones with cameras, which have really stalled their growth. A great example of leveraging an opportunity is coming from my colleagues Vodafone in Kenya, which started a money transfer service on its mobile technology platform. Let us look what the customer think about this new service.
Ya kusafisha viatu hapa Murang'a. Watu huja kwangu kutoka eneo mbalimbali niwasafishia Safaricom. Mambo yalikuwa tofauti nilipoanza. Ilinibidi nifanye kazi mitaani nikijigangana kupata pesa. Nilipogundua M-Pesa, kila kitu kilibadilika. Ni wazo zuri liniliwezesha watu wawe na fedha kwa simu yao. Waweza kunitumia kulipia kitu chochote. Imebadilisha tunavyofanya biashara Kenya. Maanake sio lazima wateja walipe pesa wenyewe. Wanaweza nitumia viatu vyao na nakutuma pesa kwa simu yangu. Biashara inafaulu sana. Nafanya viatu 30 kwa siku moja, hata imenibidi niandike wafanyikazi wapya. Hata nimenunua biashara ya taxi aina ya bodaboda na mapato zaidi. Nilipokuwa kijana nilikuwa na ndoto ya kuwa na biashara yangu, lakini sikuweza kudhani nitafungua banki. Sasa banki ya mkesho inaniwezesha kuweka akiba. Nadhani itanibidi nizoee kuwa tajiri.
So what you saw is, I think, people who were able in the business to mine a great opportunity for unbanked Kenyans to help them transfer money using their mobile phone. 5 years later, so today, 70% of all transactions, electronic transactions, in the financial world happen via M-Pesa. 70%. So you can see there was a huge unmined, probably unconscious demand there. Businesses need to be innovative and light on their feet to take advantage of such opportunities. In the current VUCA times, I think India keeps on throwing these opportunities to us if we are willing to see them. So let's come to rule number 4. The first 3 rules were more macro or broad-based. The next 3 are more micro, dealing with our day-to-day business decision-making about our customers. Acquisition is for brands a must. It is not optional. There's always a huge debate in our industry. Do you focus on retaining your customers or on driving new acquisitions? It is widely believed that acquisition costs are always higher than retention costs. Should you therefore put the majority of your investments in retaining or in acquiring new customers? Reducing the loss of old customers to very low levels means a disproportionate expenditure. The same money can be invested in acquiring new customers. All brands lose customers. Size of loss is dependent on the stickiness of the customers and the category that you're in. In today's world of targeting, CRM and loyalty program brands, they focus mainly on current customers, which could prove to be a distraction from growth. Enough focus and resources need to be given by brands on acquisition to ensure that growth. Acquisition entails 2 kinds of customers, new to the brand and new to the category. In developing markets where most categories are still not highly penetrated, the second kind of customer is a very important source of growth. Let me illustrate this with a graph. Vodafone India has consciously worked towards acquiring new customers. Most of our acquisition initiatives have been targeted to the new to the category consumers. Price has been a key lever in our marketing mix, and we have been able to use it to our advantage in broad-basing our services and making it viable for a lot of consumers to take benefit of mobile telephony. In the chart you can clearly see that over 16 quarters prices of our services have only gone one way, which is down, and but that has allowed us to do is acquire new customers rapidly. And it's only in the last 4 quarters that we see acquisition slowing down with category penetration flattening. So if we accept that to grow you need to acquire, the next question is, what kind of consumer should we acquire? All brand users are not equal in their consumption, is it? With improvement in technology, it's becoming easier to understand buying and usage behavior. Now there is also a belief that the focus of all marketing initiatives should be more targeted toward the heavy and medium users, because they will give you the best return. Heavy users are generally the most involved users. These users are more receptive to all marketing stimuli and they notice more and process more of their brand's advertising.